We're going to treat this old pine door with oil wax and a colour shade. Before starting, make sure that you have everything you need. Boiled linseed oil for the basic treatment. Oil wax and Urtasun Artist oil paints to break the colour. Suitable brushes. A sponge. A shoe brush. A plate or plastic lid to use as a palette. Sanding materials. Tools. A cloth for wiping the floor and your hands. Soap for washing your hands and the brushes. The estimated amount of boiled linseed oil per application on untreated wood is 10 to 15 square metres per litre. The drying time is approximately 24 hours. The estimated amount of oil wax per application on wood is 15 to 20 square metres per litre. The oil wax glaze takes 24 to 36 hours to dry, depending on the ambient temperature and ventilation. The optimal temperature for application is approximately 15 to 25 degrees Celsius. Make sure that the room in which you're going to apply the oil wax is well ventilated, not least for drying purposes. Start by treating the surface with linseed oil so that the substrate is well saturated. This is done best using a sponge. Make sure there's plenty of oil on the sponge and apply it as evenly as you can over the surface. Wipe off any excess oil with a cloth and allow the door to dry for about a day. When the door is dry, it's time to sand down any irregularities that have occurred due to the wood swelling after the oil application. Wipe off all the sanding dust with a cloth so that the door is completely clean before waxing it. Now it's time to mix the oil wax. Begin by laying a string of oil wax out on a lid. Then, similarly, lay out half as much of the breaking colour. The more colour you use, the darker the shade will be. Mix the two together thoroughly so that the paste is homogeneous. There are different ways of applying oil wax. We have chosen to use a round pig bristle brush. Work in the wax with brush movements in all directions to apply it well into the wood. Wipe the door with a cloth, partly to remove any excess wax and partly to even out the surface. It is important to apply the oil wax very thinly. After the door has been allowed to dry for about a day, it's time to polish the surface using a shoe brush. Now we have a beautiful door with a semi-gloss satin finish that is easy to keep clean. To avoid spontaneous combustion, soak all the cloths that have been in contact with the oil and wax and seal them in a waste disposal bag. Wash the brushes and your hands with soap and water. It's worthwhile looking after your brushes, as a good brush is an expensive item. A used, well-looked-after brush is also better to work with than one that is brand new. If you're planning to use your brushes again in a few days' time, then they don't need to be washed, but simply placed in raw linseed oil to prevent them from drying out. This treatment can be performed on a variety of carpentry work and, as stated previously, a wide range of colour shades are available to choose between.